Congratulations, that's such an achievement. And how did the whole initiative start, Réka?
Yeah, it's a really interesting story. As Anna usually says, it's a 21st century story because it started with a Facebook group. So online I met a gentleman called János Szabon. He also had a great-grandfather emigrating to the US and then returning to Hungary, and we met online and I helped him research his family, and that he had this idea that we should create a Facebook group for descendants of Hungarian Americans in the US, but also returning immigrants. So we created this Facebook group at the end of February last year, and our goal practically was just to provide a space where these descendants can share stories, memories, photos, documents, but also ask questions and ask for help if they need. And this group, many of the parts of the audience are part of, quickly became a real community, a motivated and engaged community that currently has 1,600 members. So it's a really fastly growing community, and we are really grateful for that. And from the very first day on, there were so many beautiful, sometimes heartwarming, sometimes heart-wrenching stories that were shared, that it was another idea to collect these stories into a volume, and we published Hungarian Roots American Dreams, Tracing Personal History last year, and the book, as you can see here as well, came out in 2 languages, one in Hungarian, one in English. Both copies are identical. The first volume contains 48 stories, and we are right here, right now, launching Volume 2, which has 58 wonderful stories, and we have 9 of our authors present here today, mostly in the first few rows, and you will meet them later. And these are family histories, and Anna will talk about that more in a second, but these are spanning 200 years of Hungarian and US history. Really rarely seen photos, rarely seen documents are shared here, and also stories, some of them that were already almost forgotten. So we think that it's really important to capture these memories and these stories. And in parallel with launching Volume 2, we are also working on 5 additional volumes that will tell even more stories about emigration, not only to the US, but also, for example, to Brazil. So we are really excited to continue sharing these stories with the wider audience.
And how did you come to the idea of the book, Why Tracing Personal History? Anna.
Yeah, so if you approach it from a slightly academic angle, basically when a person writes their family history, what they are doing is they're writing a micro-history. And micro-history has been a strand in historical research since the 1970s. And so a person's family history is an example of this micro-history. Basically, in our case, the story of the immigrant person who came to the US is his or her individual personal history, which then gets embedded in the family's history, with the descent, with their children, grandchildren, other family members, maybe on the other side of the ocean. And this family history is written, spanning generations. Typically, it's in many of our cases, it's the great-grandchildren of the immigrant who are writing the stories. And basically, through this, the story becomes the living family chronicle, because it's not just the immigrant story that is captured in the chapters of our books, but also how the immigrant story impacted the lives of their children and grandchildren and changed the lives of the whole family. And then if you read these stories in the whole collection, you basically get an ongoing community story. And in the 2 volumes that we have edited so far, you can really see 200 years of Hungarian history, 200 years of American history, with all of the events, the First World War, the Depression, the Second World War, Communist era in Hungary, change of regime in 1989, and and basically you get bits and pieces of this whole history in the books.
That's super interesting. I wonder, several important projects document Hungarian diaspora experiences. What makes Hungarian Roots and American Dreams so unique or special? We heard about Memory Project, another important project. So, what is the uniqueness of this?
Exactly. So many of you must be familiar with the Memory Project. The video interviews that are available online. There is the volumes of Visszatérések, that is books about the re-migrants, emigres returning back to Hungary. There is the 3 volumes of Magyarnak lenni Amerikában, being Hungarian in the United States, a very recent series of volumes about the lives of current diaspora people in the Hungarian American communities. Well, our initiative is very different from this because basically the whole initiative started as a grassroots community project from the start. Our contributors are writing their own stories. They are not interviewees, they are co-creators of the book. There's a greater chronological scope, as I already mentioned. It's not just the living emigres or immigrants who are speaking, but our authors are talking about their ancestors in most of the cases. We are combining US and Hungarian perspectives. Some of our authors are monolingual English speakers or English speakers whose dominant language is definitely English, and Hungarian is their second language or later learned language. And we are giving voices to these monolingual English-speaking descendants of Hungarian Americans as well. We have a multi-generational perspective, and most of our authors are actually first-time storytellers. They are not people who are used to writing. They are not people who have authored papers or books or articles before. And very importantly, we consider it very important. Another focus is that many of our stories are stories of working class people, of everyday people, and not just the highly educated or the upper class individuals whose voices are sometimes heard before everyone else. And so I think this is what makes our project different.
It's very interesting and sounds very authentic.